Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a highly anticipated release in the smartphone world. We're doing a full, chapter-wise review of the brand new Realme P4S 5G. People have been hyping this up as a true mid-range disruptor, so let's see if it actually lives up to that title.
Here's how we're breaking it down today. We will systematically evaluate this phone across 5 main pillars: the display experience, dual-chip gaming power, massive battery life, AI-enhanced cameras, and finally, we'll wrap up with the design and pricing verdict.
All right, Chapter 1, the display experience. Realme's calling this segment Dual to Dive In. Okay, we really need to start with this number, 6,500. That is the segment-leading peak brightness this phone claims to push out in nits. To put that into perspective for a second, most of the top-tier flagships out there hover around the 2,000 to 3,000 range. So pushing 6,500 nits, that means looking at your screen in direct glaring sunlight is going to be absolutely no problem.
And driving all that light is a 6.78-inch Samsung M14 AMOLED panel. It's packing a really sharp 1.5K resolution, specifically 1272 by 2772. Along with HDR10 Plus certification for your Netflix binges. Add in a buttery smooth 144Hz refresh rate, and your scrolling and gaming are going to feel incredibly fluid. Honestly, for a mid-range device, these are seriously premium specs aimed right at media lovers and gamers.
Now here's where it gets spicy. Realme is directly stacking their display up against a major competitor, which they're cheekily calling the competitor 17 Pro Max. They're promising more vibrant colors, much deeper blacks with richer dark details, and less eye strain when you're staring at it for hours. If you look at the side-by-side comparison here, you can see how the P4s is trying to outpace that 17 Pro Max in visual fidelity. They really want to eliminate that annoying graying effect you sometimes get in dark scenes on cheaper OLED displays. They are clearly positioning this as the absolute best-in-class display for this segment.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, Dual-Chip Gaming Power, or Dual to Power Up.
So, what's under the hood? It's a dual-chip setup. Instead of just relying on one main processor, they've paired a really capable octa-core MediaTek Dimensity 7400 Ultra, running at a 2.6 GHz clock speed with a secondary, dedicated HyperVision Plus AI chip. It's essentially like having a co-pilot specifically for gaming, taking the heavy lifting off the main chip to cut down on lag and save your battery life.
And because of that dedicated AI chip, you get some major software perks. We're talking Game AI Hyperclarity that upscales your resolution to 1.5K and boosted frame rates hitting up to 144 FPS for heavy hitters like BGMI. Plus, the Game AI Always-On HDR enhances the lighting, giving you deeper shadows so, yeah, you can actually spot enemies hiding in the dark.
Of course, pushing all those pixels generates some serious heat, but they're managing it with a massive 7,000 square millimeter airflow vapor chamber cooling system. And for memory, you get up to 12 gigabytes of physical LPDDR4X RAM, which can dynamically expand by another 14 gigabytes. That's 26 gigabytes of dynamic RAM for pretty much limitless multitasking. Paired with 256 gigabytes of snappy UFS 3.1 storage, your massive apps and games are going to load almost instantly.
All right, Chapter 3, this is a big one. Massive battery life, or dual to keep going.
Just let this number sink in for a second. 8,000, as in an 8,000 milliamp hour battery capacity. Look, in today's market, 5,000 is standard, 6,000 is considered huge, but 8,000? That is practically unheard of for a mainstream phone, especially when you consider they've somehow managed to pack this into a device that weighs just 208 grams and is only 8.6 millimeters thick. It's kind of mind-blowing. And even with that insane 2x power advantage, you aren't going to be chained to a wall outlet forever. It supports 80W wired fast charging, so you get the speed to top up that massive battery super quickly.
Let's switch gears to content creation in Chapter 4, AI-enhanced cameras, or dual to capture more.
Around back, the optics are powered by a dual rear camera system. The star of the show is a 50-megapixel main shooter with a fast f1.8 aperture and 2-axis optical image stabilization. That OIS is going to keep your low-light shots sharp and your 4K video nice and steady. Right next to it is an 8-megapixel ultra-wide lens with a 112-degree field of view. And you also get a solid 16-megapixel front camera for your selfies and video calls.
But it's the software where things get really interesting. Check out this AI Framing Master tool.
The camera app actually uses AI to instantly recognize what you're trying to shoot, like a subject or a moving vehicle, and it gives you real-time visual prompts to nail your composition on the fly. It's essentially like having a smart photography assistant built right into your viewfinder.
And finally, we arrive at Chapter 5, Design and Pricing Verdict. Let's see how it manages to duel to stand out.
A ton of thought clearly went into the look of this device. Realme actually teamed up with Pearl Academy, a renowned design institute established way back in 1993, to nail this bold, tech-forward aesthetic. It gives the phone this very distinct, almost industrial but modern vibe, especially with that textured back panel and the camera housing.
If you're looking to pick one up when it hits Flipkart on September 3rd, you've got two killer colorways to choose from. Titanium gray for a super sleek, metallic, professional look, or electric cyan if you want a vibrant pop of color.
Oh, and before we talk cash, we have to mention durability. This phone isn't just a pretty face, it is armored. It comes with an incredible trio of ratings, IP66, IP68, and even IP69. That means it is intensely resilient against dust, total water submersion, and even high-temperature, high-pressure water jets. I mean, it's built like an absolute tank.
So, what's the bottom line? The pricing strategy here is ridiculously aggressive for these specs. Over in India, it starts at just 349,999 rupees for the 8GB RAM, 128GB storage model. If you bump up to 256GB of storage, it brings it to 379,999 rupees. And the fully maxed out version, 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage, tops out at 419,999 rupees. Plus, with bank offers, you can actually drive that price down even further.
Which leaves us with the big question to wrap up today's explainer. When you combine a blinding 6500 nit display, dual-chip gaming, a genuinely unprecedented 8,000 mAh battery, and triple IP durability ratings, has Realme done enough with the P4S 5G to totally disrupt your next smartphone purchase? It is undoubtedly making a massive statement in the mid-range market. Thank you so much for joining me for this breakdown, and as always, keep learning.